Was there a lot of music in Waikiki in those days?
There was a lot of it.
Showrooms?
Because, you know, Duke Kahanamoku's was a supper club. Don the Beachcomber was a supper club.
What a different time that was.
Yes, yes.
And at that time, we had so many theaters. You can't believe how many theaters we had that had shows.
Live shows.
Live shows.
I've always said, whenever I was at the Kahala, I used to tell people, hey, go see Brother Don Hall, go see Al Harrington. I said, the Surfers, you know, I said, the Society of Seven. I said, we got some of the greatest shows in Hawaii.
We often hear about the golden age of Hollywood. Today, younger people may not realize that Hawaii had its own golden age of entertainment, though ours was mostly on stage instead of on the big screen. Coming up on Long Story Short, we will revisit the days when live music filled the showrooms of Waikiki, with 3 of the musical talents to command those legendary stages.
One-on-one engaging conversations with some of Hawaii's most intriguing people. Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox.
Aloha mai kako, I'm Leslie Wilcox. On this edition of Long Story Short, we travel back to the Golden Age, an exciting time when live entertainment lit up hotel showrooms, when beautiful Hawaiian songs and popular performers, backed by live orchestras, drew tourists and locals to Waikiki night after night. To recall this bygone era, we feature encore interviews with 3 musical icons who helped define that time: Emma Veary, Marlene Sai, and Danny Kaleikini. These stars are considered by many to be among Hawaii's showbiz royalty. They were staples of the local entertainment scene, and their stellar careers spanned continents as well as decades, from World War II into the 21st century. In 2008, we visited with Emma Veary, who spoke of how she began her professional career when she was still a child. Her career took off just as the era that would be called Hawaii's Golden Age was getting going. Decades later, Veary would still be headlining at the Halekulani and Royal Hawaiian, and her gorgeous voice would earn this elegant performer the nickname Hawaii's Golden Throat.
I started working when I was 5. I've been singing since I was 5 because I discovered that people wanted to hear me sing, and they would pay me. And being from a family who didn't have a lot of money, wow! I had a special letter from the Liquor Commission so that I could go sing in clubs.
At age 5?
At age 5, and Mother would go with me. And I sang at all the big clubs. And at that time, later on, as time went on, all of the celebrities used to go to the Wailea Country Club. That was the place to go. And I used to sing there on weekends. So I had the pleasure of meeting all these lovely stars. And of course, a couple that you don't know, but there was Rochelle Hudson, there was Betty Davis, and there was Dorothy Lamour. And I had the pleasure of meeting Dorothy as a child when she was a very young woman. And again, when I was working at the Halekulani one night, they told me, Emma, Dorothy Lamour is here tonight. And I went, oh my God. So I pulled out a medley of her songs and sang them to her and reminded her about when we met when I was a child. And she said, oh my God. She says, after hearing you sing those songs, I never want to sing them again. and at that time, we had so many theaters. You can't believe how many theaters we had that had shows.
Live shows.
Live shows. There was the Princess, the Hawaii, Liberty, Queens, Kings, Palace, Pawa'a Theater, Kewalo Theater. These are all no more.
They weren't movie houses? They were
movie
musical
houses.
acts?
No, they were movie houses, but they would have music, between the shows, like Radio City Music Hall. You know, they would have some come on and perform in between the movies.
That was standard in those days in theaters?
They used to have a lot of that going on, yeah. So I used to go and sing at all of these theaters. And I sang at Hawaii Theater so many times. And then I met, while I was going through that phase in 1941, Joe Pasternak came to Hawaii and saw me perform somewhere and asked me to come to Hollywood and he would groom me to become a star. And we had said, okay. And I was supposed to leave on the 8th of December in 1941. And the 7th, the war started. So he called me and he said, you know, to my mom, does she still want to come? So my mother said, you have to ask her. So I got on the phone. I said, well, Mr. Pasternak, I said, in as much as there's a war going on, I'd rather stay home with my family. So I lost out on that one.
For those who weren't living here or weren't alive in the 70s, your name was the class act around town. You were the headliner, maybe the first headliner at the Halekulani Hotel?
Yes, yes. They didn't ever have an act there. And Hal, Aku, and I were married at the time. And I talked to him about doing the act. And so we went down and we were at the Royal Spaghetti House. And when we decided we wanted to leave that venue and come to Waikiki, so he went and talked to the Halekulani and talked them into putting me on the lanai there. And because of the way the room was, I said, I've got to design a stage that would work for me. So I had an H, and I would put the piano in either side of the, it was an H like that, the piano here, the piano there, and I had a round H, and I could work here, I could work here, and I could work between the pianos. And so they built the stage that I wanted, and they built me a dressing room, and on opening night I went to work at the Halekulani, and they had put a drape down in the back where the ocean was to keep people from looking in. And so I said to them, excuse me, what is that there? And they said, well, that's to keep the people out. I said, you know, you have one of the most beautiful views in Waikiki. And I said, I want you to take that away. They said, well, we paid $5,000 to build that thing. I said, well, I don't want to go on if you're going to have that there, because there are people passing by. They will become fans, they will become clients after and come into the show. I said, so I'm not going to go sing until you put that silly thing up.
So they wanted to block you from the beach, even though it was an outdoor venue.
Yeah, because the people would look in.
Well, it's funny. I have a different point of view on that. My vantage point was I was one of the beach people, you know, the Rugrats out there, the kids and the young adults who were taking advantage of the free music in Waikiki. You could go up and down the beach and
I used to call
sit
them
in the
my scholarship crowd. And eventually they all came in. And they would come in and have dinner and see the show.
And that was a phenomenon that I think a lot of people have forgotten or didn't know. When there were live showrooms in Waikiki and there were the cheap seats on the beach.
Right. But you know, I felt like, hey, where would I be without these people? They are also people who will eventually come to see me. My fans are very precious to me. And I communicate, people call me, I talk to fans, and I have a relationship with my fans because I wouldn't be who I am without them.
In those days, wasn't it called at the Halekulani the Choral Lanai where you performed?
Yes, wasn't the Choral Lanai? Yes.
It wasn't House Without a Key. It was
no,
Choral
it was the Choral
Lanai.
Lanai, yeah, because the House Without a Key is next door. Was next door, yeah.
And then you were a headliner at the Monarch Room as well.
And then after I left there, I went to the Monarch Room and performed there for a number of years, and that was interesting. It was very interesting, and of course there I had a big orchestra, which was another, style of work, because the other I had either two pianos or a piano and a harp, and then I went to a 13-piece orchestra after that with a piano player.
What was the most requested song when you were at the Monarch Room?
You know, everybody had their own different songs that they wanted to hear. Of course, everybody wants to hear Kamehameha Waltz because that was a signature song.
Next, we reminisce with Marlene Sai. Born into the Golden Age, Sai was just 17 when she was discovered by the up-and-coming Don Ho, and his mentorship led her to embark on a successful singing career that once seemed out of reach. During this 2009 conversation, Marlene Sai told us, as a Kaimuki kid, she'd been laying the foundation her whole life to impress Don Ho, learning literally on the laps of talented musicians like her uncle, Andy Cummings, who composed some of her signature songs. Sai's journey to the stages of Waikiki would first pass through a small club in Kaneohe.
So Uncle wanted me to listen to the song. And I said, okay. And I would come home from school, sit me down, and on our steps outside of the house, and he'd play this. He said, now I want you to learn this song. And that's how I started to learn Kainoa, which was the song that started me in the business.
It's a signature song
It's
for
one
you.
of the signature songs, yeah.
How does it go?
I'm waiting on a warm and sunny seashore, yearning for the one that I adore. My heart is true, I'm thinking of you forever. I will love you, Kainoa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, Andy Cummings is a heck of an uncle to get started in the music business with. He was, of course, one of the greatest hapahaole composers ever. And he wrote Waikiki, which is another song you are known for.
Signature, yeah. One day I'm driving down Kalakaua, and I'm looking in my rear view mirror, and I see this, it looked like a Thunderbird, and the top was down, and I see this car darting in and out, and it's approaching me. And this guy's hair is blowing, no shirt on, and he's coming up closer to me, and I'm getting nervous. So I roll up this window, and I going further, and he comes and he's telling me to pull over. So I pull over and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, who in the world is this? Because I didn't recognize him. He got out of the car, came over to me, and he had the window up, and he's knocking on the window, and he's saying to me, you remember me? I was playing the organ for you, you remember me? And I'm thinking, what church is he talking about? I could remember organ. And then he said, you came to my place with Jesse. When he said, Jesse, my place. And I said, oh,
Don Ho, is that your window?
I'm looking at it. So I rolled my window down, and I said, yeah. He said, I lost your number. He says, I don't know where I put the paper. I lost it. He said, I've been trying to get your phone number. So he asked me, he says, can you come down to to Honey's tonight or tomorrow night? He says, I'd like to know if we can get some songs together. If you're still interested, I'd like for you to sing and maybe make some extra money. And that's really how it all started.
Singing at Honey's, and your boss was Don Ho.
And my boss was Don Ho, yeah.
Was there a lot of music in Waikiki in those days?
There was a lot of it.
Showrooms?
Because, Dukahanamoku's was a supper club. Down the Beachcomber was a supper club. And the International Marketplace, where it is now, as we know, the International Marketplace, way in the back of it, to the left, was Dukahanamoku's. That was where the supper club was. And the front of it, on the street, was down the Beachcombers.
That's right.
So
there were all kinds of venues for live Hawaiian music.
Oh yeah, it was all and then down the road you had Sterling Mossman was there. So you had the Barefoot Bar, and you had Queen Surf, and I mean it was all over. Across the street was the Moana Surf Riders. You had Pu Alameda playing there. At the Royal Hawaiian, Haunani Kahalewai was playing. I mean, it was all over the place, and it was just wonderful.
What a different time that was.
Yes, yes.
And you sounded fearless. I mean, you were you were up for the challenges.
Well, because you're young, I think. Because you're young and you want to explore and you want to just give it a whirl and try it. And of course, the career was just unbelievable. So
you were a teenage recording star. What if you hadn't had access to all of these wonderful people, Andy Cummings and Gabby Pahinui, and the people who perhaps they didn't I guess Uncle Andy coached you in so many words, but the
Sure.
others who you got to see in action and learn from that way?
I think what happens in life, if you are meant to be in a certain place and things kind of unfold for you, which is truly the way I believe that things started to happen for me, because no way along this that did I plan it, or did I was just so grateful that it unfolded this way and it was happening, because I just felt like the greatest gift was been given to me.
Do you ever miss seeing your name in those huge marquee lights in Waikiki?
No. No.
Been there, done that?
Been there, done that. Yes. Yes. I enjoy being Grammy, and I enjoy my grandchildren, you know, and enjoying the family. Yeah.
Do your grandchildren know that Grammy was a huge star in Waikiki? Everybody knew your name, and many obviously still know it?
They know. They do know, but you know, they also know that, you know, they have to know their place too, you know. But they're very good about that. They really are.
Showing respect?
Oh, sure. But not, you know, boasting or anything.
But they have a sense of who
they
you
do have
are.
a sense. They do have a sense.
And the legacy?
Yes.
Do you think what's your legacy?
What is my legacy? God, she's been around for a long time.
Our final entertainment icon has also been around a long time. Danny Kaleikini left college to launch his career and wound up as the longest-running showroom host at a single venue. He would also come to be recognized worldwide as Hawaii's ambassador of aloha. In 2010, Kaleikini told us that long before the golden age of Waikiki, he was living in Papakolea, and his family was so poor he began working at the age of 6, not performing, but delivering newspapers and shining shoes in downtown Honolulu.
Before I went to Kahala, I had learnings from the best from Hawaii. I started at places, and I want to thank people like, when I was shining shoes, I used to go every Fridays. Right across Hawaiian Electric was Charlie's Taxi, and they had jam session. Jesse Kalima and 1,000 Pounds of Melody. Oh. So my brother and I would go there just about 5:30 with our shoe shine box. Then they would say, "Hey, the two brothers from Papakolea, come over here, sing us a song." We go up there, we sing our song, "Oh Makala Pua." You know, and after the song, people would throw we pick up like $2-3, man, you know. Oh, I mean, so we take it to Jesse. He said, no, you guys take that home for you. And I tell you, never forgot, then I went to work at Waikiki Sands. From there, Ray Keeney saw me. Then he took me to the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. Then he said, you watch what I do. He says, you're gonna learn. Then I learned how to be an MC, and you know. Oh, I gotta thank Reverend Akaka, you know. And Danny Akaka, when I went to Kauai, was my minister of music. So I was part of, you know, the choir. And but Kahu, you know, is really the one that taught me about that magic word, aloha. And, you know, and the ukulele, you know, he told me the ukulele represents the world, you know. There's only 4 strings, but each string represents all the different people that make up our world, black, white, yellow, brown. He said, you play each string, you'll get a song, you know. But try playing it all together, you know. Then you find a chord, then you find harmony, then we can all come together, you know.
Who was in your high school class that people might remember today?
Ron Jacobs, Wesley Park. You know, and Wesley was my, you know, business manager. Because of Wesley Park, and I thank him very much, he got me my job at the Kahala Hilton in 1967. He got me a contract for 5 years, and the rate was $1.5 million. Wow. I was guaranteed, which is unheard of.
Well, what was it like? Do you remember the moment when you realized, I am going to play the Kahala?
Oh no, I was so scared. I mean, it was like one step beyond, you know, to go from downtown Waikiki to and Kahala was, you know, the Hilton International was, I mean, premier.
Did you replace anybody when you went to the Kahala Showroom, or
No.
did you create that
I
showroom?
created the show. I created that room.
So what was the thinking process in figuring what will work in this showroom?
Well, first of all, I said we were too far from Waikiki. I said we had to work hard to get people, because just to catch the taxi, and then the local people said, Kahala Hilton, you know how much the cup coffee? $1. You know.
Well, how did you draw them in? What was your, what do you think brought them in?
I did it Hawaiian style. I mean, you know, I did it from the poo-poos, you know, and all the kanaka mo'oles, you know. I'm just to sing, I mean, ua liki no liki. I did le'aloha le makamai, you know, but I did all the, even like Andy Anderson was one of, I love Mr. Anderson. I love his songs, and I used to sing Malihini Mele, you know, and everybody used to get a bang, because I used to add my own words to it, you know, and but it, you know, I think it was an upbeat tune. You know?
Real hapahali.
All the hapahali songs, and I tell you, I mean, and every night I sang the wedding song, and the other song was either Lovely Hula Hands or Beyond the Reef, either one. Yeah, and everybody knew the song. Not only the Malihinis, but the Kamainas as well, you know. Because Lovely Hula Hands, Andy Anderson wrote that song, you know.
So you started out with a local crowd, and then what happened?
And then, you know, then the tourists started to come from Waikiki. Then I had to go market the show. Then I started to get the Japanese. Once the Japanese, you could not. The second show was sold out every night. It was unreal.
And that showroom was based around you, right? It was the cult of Kaniala.
Yeah, I mean, I got to meet the king and queen of, you know, Queen Elizabeth and, you know, and her husband, and Prince Charles used to stay there because he played polo, and he used to come with Princess Diana. You know, I got to play golf with President Ford, and I met all the presidents stayed at the Kahala. I mean, and I got to meet them all. And Mrs. Imelda, you know, she would come. She would stay at the Kahala Hilton, Mrs. Marcos, and she would come to my show. And she always brought like about, you know, 40 to 50 people, and they had a section, and the security was tight, and everybody, you know, was comfortable and yet uneasy because of the security and everything else. But
was it Governor Wahe'e who gave you the title Ambassador of Aloha?
Yeah, 1988. It was, I was so honored, you know, because, you know, Duke Kahanamoku has been our Ambassador of Aloha for, you know, and I had the privilege of working with Duke.
You're still known as Mr. Aloha, the Ambassador of Aloha. What does that mean to you? What does that, I mean, do you think of that every day?
Oh, yeah, it's, you know, I'm very honored to be, you know, just to share this aloha, not only here, but around the world. No matter where I go, you know, I can honestly say I've seen the world, and because of music, you know, I thank Aku, I thank God, but, you know, I go with, you know, aloha's kikahi, the breath of life that we share with one another.
What is the reason the show ended at Kahala?
They sold the hotel.
You would have kept going?
I would have. I even asked the, you know, people if they wanted, you know, but they were going to, big management, they were going to do, you know, a whole different, they had a whole different outlook on what they wanted to do. It's a shame because in 1967, we could have bought the hotel for $17 million, but nobody would lend us the money. I tell you, it was, yeah, but, you know, I cannot, I look back and, you know, I said, I had a wonderful, wonderful stay, and I thank all the people that supported me, all the people that, you know, helped me. I mean, we all worked together as one family, you know, and I think that was the key in the success of, but the secret ingredient, ALOHA, that made it work.
Danny Kaleikini, Marlene Sai, and Emma Veary, three iconic Hawaii performers, all members of the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame, and each honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts. By sharing their on and off stage stories, they help keep alive the memories of this magical time in Hawaii. Mahalo for joining us for this reminiscent journey back to Hawaii's golden age of entertainment. For Long Story Short and PBS Hawaii, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Aloha nui.
For audio and written transcripts of all episodes of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, visit pbshawaii.org. To download free podcasts of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, go to the Apple iTunes Store or visit pbshawaii.org.
Awe tani, tani kita awe. Awe tani, tani kita awe. Tani kita awe hewe. Hera tonggara awe. Tani, tani kita awe. Hari hari awe. Hari hari awe. Hari awe. Hari awe.